If it is or if it ain't, it's going to come out. Good morning, everybody. It's your girl Miracle Sims, and you're listening to God, Sex, and Love. Your dose of inspiration, the juice. Oh goodness, it is August the 23rd, right? I believe so. August the 23rd. Yes, and today the topic is denied. Whew, y'all. Well, I hope that you guys had a great day yesterday. Mine was just fine. Um, First, let me say, because I always tend to acknowledge that, I am recording a little bit later than usual. So my apologies just in case there's anybody looking and expecting this to be out on the dot. Uh, I don't know. Well, this morning I did wake up a little bit later than usual. And that could have been because between midnight and the time I usually wake up for, unfortunately, I kept being woken up by my son walking in my room. So I think by the time I did finally just lock the door and went to sleep, I ended up oversleeping a little bit because it was, what time was it? Like 2 or 3 when I finally was like, let me just lock the door. and, um, and yeah, obviously, if I get up at 4, I must have just missed my alarm because I was finally at peace. So, but regardless, man, I got on up and, did my routine, listened to the prayer meditation and everything like that. And here I am to give you the juice, even though it's, again, a little bit later than usual. But I do want to acknowledge, when I fall short and everything like that, just in case there was somebody that was like looking forward at 6. Because all the advertisements or whatnot say that it'll be out by 6. So, you know. Um, I'm human, but I'm gonna try my best to, do better about that. Because I feel like I've been kind of slacking in that area recently, and I don't know if I just need a break. I don't know, but anyway, that's what had happened with that. So acknowledging that. As for yesterday, man, I had a great day. For the most part, those that are watching live, you may notice that I'm in Studio B. um, so. Usually when I'm sitting in this setup in the morning, then most likely I did a show the day before. Um, so yeah, I did record an episode of GSL yesterday, which I think was a good conversation and whatnot. But we'll get into that in a moment. And then also, let's see, outside of that, what else? I mean, just kind of did some more little tasks, try to get some rest in between midday or whatnot when things was kind of quiet. I think NJ was taking a nap, so I tried to take one too. Um, and then, yeah, by the time I got up, right out of bushy tails, working on some other little chores and stuff. And so, yeah, that's what yesterday looked like for me. All right. Well, oh, yeah, although yesterday was good, it was kind of, not say emotional, but like a little bit like, um, well, okay. Long story short, as again I said it, I shared with you all already that I did record an episode of GSL, and unfortunately, I think that is part of the inspiration for today's topic as well. Um, nothing against the gentleman in particular. I think he's a lovely gentleman. He's been awesome to talk to. I've talked to him twice now, and he seems like an awesome person an awesome person in general. Great to talk to. And he said the same of me, so I feel, honored by that. And I think that the episode that is going to be coming out in the future is a good episode to see. And and everything, because again, I acknowledge that everybody may not believe, right? And everybody has that free will to not believe what the Bible says. I mean, God gave that to us and everything like that. And so, to each their own, right? To each be their own. They can be led by their own minds in that regard. Um, I don't know. I guess it just was on my heart and mind this morning because I listened to the prayer meditation, but I think even before I started it, the word deny it was like denial, denial, deny, and denied. It was like a combination of those is in my heart and mind. I think it started with denial, and I was like, all right, well, I'll look up verses centered around denial when I get there with this prayer meditation, and everything like that. And so I did. I looked up the definition of deny, but I didn't write it down. So if that's something you need to do, by all means, look up the word and whatnot. But the conversation yesterday was just very interesting because although no matter how pleasant he was and the smile and everything like that, I just really didn't understand how he could just so adamantly deny um, God. Adamantly deny, the Bible, adamantly deny uh, even his own experience, because that's the thing as well. Like, you guys will see in that conversation where he shared, where he basically, gave his life to Christ in a young age, but then, I was trying to get an understanding of if something happened, because I mean, it just seemed like a drastic, you have this moment or encounter with God, so much so where you present yourself to him at the altar, right? But then all of a sudden, it's like something had to have happened between then and now for you to be so adamant and so like denying God. And it's so that part, I don't know if I'm still clear on. I might go back and watch the video before y'all see it just to kind of like see if there was anything that I missed by being a part of the conversation, like actually watching our conversation. I think I'm gonna go back and see and whatnot. Regardless, I let him know that I'm going to be praying for him and whatnot as well. And I know he couldn't necessarily receive it. But, there just was a lot of things on my heart and mind after that conversation, or even during that conversation, that made it just kind of, not say difficult for me, but like just a little bit. It was a little bit difficult because I just was like, I have so much care for him. And even though, again, I've only had 2 conversations with him, but, obviously I care for his soul, and the things that I saw while talking to him, or what came into my heart and mind while talking to him, some I did address, some I did let him know, but some things I didn't, because I just was like, ooh, I really hope that that's not the case. um, I see we got Miss Malika tuning in. So good morning, lovely lady. Let's see. She says people deny what they can't understand or put together in their minds. If they can't explain it, they deny. It's so amazing how you said that, because that's exactly what it was. Because the first time I talked to him, and he was asking me questions about my faith and whatnot, and I was on his show, and and I'm sharing and whatnot, and he just was like, well, and I was saying, like, I went all the way back to the beginning of creation, because my thing is, we can ask the question of like, well, who made this, and who was our father, and it goes all the way back, but at some point it stops and be like, well, who made that person? You know what I mean? Or how was that person born? And if you go all the way back to Adam, right? The Bible tells us how he was formed, but outside of that, what we know is a man and woman comes together and creates a child. So I can go all the way back in my lineage and see that, what I mean? Like, okay, my grandfather, grandmother, and all of that. So we can go all the way back. Now he just literally was like, that's, I can't explain that, and he just left it like that. And that's okay. I mean, I guess, again, everybody can do what they want with their free will and believe what they want to believe. But I'm like, well, just because you can't explain it doesn't mean that the Bible's not true, in my opinion. But I mean, hey, again, to each their own and everything like that. And so it just was very kind of, not say difficult talking to him, because it was easy to talk to him, and easy to listen to him in his perspective. But to be honest, okay, here we go. So the things that made it hard for me, or made it kind of like, oh Lord, do you want me to say this or do you not want me to say? Because even after our conversation, I don't know. I went and talked to my husband, like, man, I don't know if I. There was just one thing that had came in my heart and mind that I didn't say, like, just plainly. Like, I think I said it, but I don't think I said it just plainly for him to, like, really really get it, or really, because I don't know if he's familiar with that part of the Bible at all. But basically, the situation kind of reminded me of the parable of the rich man. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that, but basically, it's this parable where Jesus is talking about this rich man that had all these plans and da 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 da, and God is like, you know, uh, your soul is required of you tonight. And so all these plans you have and all your things, where are they gonna go? Um, and I really hope and pray that that's not the case for him. You know what I'm saying? I really hope and pray that, obviously, that he has a little bit more time to, make that decision. He seemed very adamant and very like, because he's saying that he's in his 60s, and so he's been thinking this way for like 40 something years. So to me, I'm like, man, it's so much lost time between when you were 15 and now. That's a lot that to take in. But then, for you to be in these later years, and I don't know, I just really hope and pray that, like on one hand, I was like, Lord, why did you have me talk to this person? But because I'm not the type of person to debate with people. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the type of person to be like, trying to force you to believe what I believe. But I mean, maybe that's why God sent my way, because I know that, like, the things that he said about me, and again, I appreciate the things he said about me, but it's just like, he's like, oh, you're pleasant to talk to, da 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 da. He had all these things to say. But I also, asked some tough questions of him, and presented some scenarios for him. Um, but regardless of what I was saying, he just seemed to be kind of like one of those people that's like, no, I just don't believe that. And, I know I did say at one point, I'm like, well, I hope for your sake that you're right, because it just don't, because otherwise, according to what the Bible says, it's just really like, I couldn't make that stance personally. For me, I had to be like, again, that 50-50 chance, that whole thing of like, I don't know. I don't think I can make that strong of a stance. Um, but it's just very interesting. It was very interesting to observe and whatnot. And so, I pray for him. I hope that, our conversation was, or isn't the last conversation he has about Christ. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And I think that was the thing that I didn't say out loud yesterday to him. I guess, or to his face. But, and I felt kind of, not say convicted by that, but a little bit. So I don't know if you got a word for me, Miss Malika, if that's still you watching. I felt a little bad. Oh, I felt like, I don't know if I should have said that or not. But hey, whether or not that was his last chance, I don't know. And that's what I'm saying. I hate to speak on someone's life in particular. You know what I'm saying? Because what if it is? You know what I'm saying? That would be crazy. Like, I would hate to hear that. I really would. You know. So we hope and pray that's not the case. But regardless, whoever listens to the sound of my voice at this point, right? Perhaps it's not your last time, right? And so I guess that's where the inspiration comes from today. And so let me share these verses. Let me share these verses. So Matthew 10:32-33, it says, so everyone who acknowledges me before men, I will also acknowledge before my Father who is in heaven. But whoever denies me before men, I also will deny before my Father who is in heaven. We might not think that that's a big deal. Like, we might not care about that. You know what I mean? Again, I hate to kind of like, again, focus on the gentleman. It's more so about all of us at this point. And yes, ma'am, you're right. We hope and pray that it's not too late for him. And I hope I did my part. And whatnot. Because like I said, I think I said everything else. I just didn't say that because I didn't know how else to say it, in a decent way. It'd be like, I hope this ain't your last chance. Like, I didn't know how to say that. So, I did say I hope, for his sake, that he was right. And I can't remember what else I said, but yeah. Anyway, but yeah, like I was saying, we might not think that that's a big deal. We might not think like God or Jesus not acknowledging us is a big thing. And that's why we can go around and deny him, right? Because we don't see the weight of that. But I think it's very serious. I think we should take it a little bit more serious than we do. And again, I hope anybody listening to the sound of my voice, if you came across this today, I hope that you keep that in mind when you think about what you're going to choose uh, or do with this information. So let's keep going, y'all. Romans 1:28. It says, "And since they did not see fit to acknowledge God, God gave them up to a debased mind to do what ought not to be done." Whew, y'all, I don't know if this whole thing is pulp this morning. Um, yeah, I think, again, on one hand, well, one thing I was sharing with him yesterday is like when it comes to free will and everything like that, I think that we like that we can make our own choices, right, and everything like that. But I don't think we like that there'll be consequences to the choices that we make. Um, we don't like thinking about that. But then on one hand, it's like, well, we understand that in the earthly side of things, you understand that, hey, if I break the law, most likely if anyone finds out that I break the law, or if this affects someone else, whatever the case is, then there's going to be consequences to my actions, right? I think most of us know that deep down. But then we have a problem with this idea that there will be consequences beyond earthly consequences. And you know, at some point, now I do believe that probably God is always, reaching out to us. He's always, seeking that relationship with us, pricking our hearts, doing these different things to lead us back to him, right? I think that's, um, you know, that is what God is doing until we die, right? Um, Now, whether again we decide to acknowledge that or not is up to us. And so uh maybe perhaps at some point what I'm receiving here is that God will allow you to continue in whatever you decide. um whew, I mean, and again, I don't know how uh I, I don't know what that means to you all, you know what I'm saying, and everything like that. But again, for me, I just was like, I just really didn't. Again, I don't necessarily understand exactly like what drew the man in particular. If we go back to him, I don't know what drew him away from God, outside of like, well, what he did tell me, it was that like, uh, basically, it doesn't seem like he just cultivated that moment. Like when he gave his life to Christ, it doesn't seem like he um, did anything else. And then he ended up being led astray by um, other ideas. And the other thing, and I did tell him this because it came in my mind in the midst of the conversation, that this reminds me of the I think the parable of the sower, where the sower is putting down the seeds and the seeds was plucked up by the birds. It seemed like that might have been his situation, which is just very interesting. Again, a lot of conversation and how it kind of referred to different biblical moments. And I'm like, but again, I'm not sure if he's familiar. He said he did some studying of the Bible, but anyway, so yeah. Again, I bring him up for anybody else, right? Where are you in your thing? Are you cultivating your relationship with God? Are you taking out the time? Someone told me years ago, back in, speaking of cultivating, I might as well throw it out here, y'all. Y'all know, go ahead. But yeah, during this time of my life, y'all know the cultivation period. During that time of my life, someone said to me, and it was encouraging, I think I did put it in the book as well, that basically flesh and spirit is constantly fighting, right? And what is going to win is what you feed. So if you're constantly feeding your flesh, then that is going to win. And vice versa, if you're constantly feeding the spirit, then that is what's going to win. Um, and yeah, yeah, yeah. So where are we on that meter today? I think we should all ask ourselves that question. And, I hope that we're feeding our spirits. I mean, again, if you listen to the sound of my voice, I guess you're feeding your spirit a little bit today. So, to God be the glory for that. But yeah, just something to think about, y'all. Just something to think about. I have one more verse here to share. It's Titus 1:16. It says, the process to know God, to profess to know God, but they deny him by their works. They are detestable, disobedient, unfit for any good work. So anybody that's claiming to be a believer, right? Anybody that's like, oh well, that ain't me. This ain't for me today. I believe, I believe, I believe. Well, like me again, another thing me and the gentleman was talking about yesterday was, knowing them by their fruit. I know he was talking about, like, I guess all these reasons to not believe, because of old Christians, or well, he didn't say Christians in particular, but he's like, oh, religions had to do with this and that, and like he was talking about war and all these things, or people that do things. He talked about the Catholic Church, and I guess the unfortunate truth of pedophilia and whatnot that goes on there. And I'm like, well, at the end of the day, you'll know people by their fruit. Like, people can proclaim to know God, just like the sis says. It's like we can profess it, right? But if your fruit don't line up with your profession, then that means you're lying, and that means that they're not true representatives of Christ, right? Of the Bible, of the Word. And so we can't use, again, other people and what they do to then say, oh, and so this is why I deny God, or I don't believe, or whatever the case is. So yeah, if anybody, is a believer already, I guess that's for you. It might be some pulp. But yeah, I mean, let's make sure that what we're professing lines up with, what we're doing. And because see the thing is too, it's like we might be the only Bible somebody or Jesus somebody see, and that's why it's so important. I think we, you know, don't realize how important it is. Like, I know, for example, he spoke of a book that he read, I guess, about atheism and whatnot, um, in the midst of that time, and so that is one of the things that changed his mindset in regards to again his own experience of walking down to the altar. And so, and that's the thing. It's like I just will be very, very careful, man, about that. You know what I mean? Because according to the Bible, man, woe to that author that wrote that book, because they led this person astray. He's just one person. Who knows how many people read that book, for example. And then, yeah, same on the people that are proclaiming to be ministers or whatever the case is, and then you're not walking in what the word says. um all of these things matter, and this is just an example of that, and played out in real time. And so yeah, y'all, I mean, that's the juice this morning. That's the juice. Miss Malika, she's agreeing with me about the fruits. And so yeah, y'all, yeah, it's just something to think about, but yeah, that's the juice this morning. I don't want to be denied, so I'm not going to deny. And I hope that it encourages and inspires you all where you are, and that yeah, that we all can humble ourselves and acknowledge God. Um, the Bible verse of today is 1 John 4:19. It says, "We love Him because He first loved us." Friends, I hope you all enjoyed this juice this morning. Thank you so much for listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration, the juice. I pray you guys can go forth and have a wonderful day, and I look forward to talking to you all tomorrow, if the Lord's will. Bye-bye.
Hello everyone, it's your girl Miracle Sims, and you already know that your girl is now an author, and my very first publication is none other than a creation inspired by the juice. That's right, friends, you can go on Amazon.com and find the juice 30-day Bible study journal. And this, friends, I hope and pray will help you create your own Bible study experience similar to the one that your girl here shares with you every day here on God's Sex and Love.